For more on that American-led raid on ISIS in Iraq and all of the latest from the Middle East, let's bring in Dr. Rebecca Grant, Senior Fellow at the Lexington Institute. It seems, Dr. Grant, like we haven't heard a lot from ISIS lately, but this raid was apparently quite successful in that it got some of the top people in ISIS.
Yes, and the Defeat ISIS mission has actually been very active because ISIS attacks in that region around Iraq and Syria have been on the upswing. And John, if you include airstrikes, our U.S. forces with Iraqi and other coalition partners have carried out more than 200 operations just this year alone against the ISIS remnants. And General Kurilla at Central Command, his top priority is hitting the ISIS planners who are trying to prepare for attacks out of the area, beyond Iraq and Syria, at other points on the globe. And so I think they've carried out a very successful strike. Sounds like a very intense airborne operation. Sounds like our folks got shot at a little bit, but they've made a real success in taking out a big ISIS terror planning camp.
Yes, 7 Americans injured, but it does not sound like the injuries were terribly serious. Should we expect blowback, though, from this American operation?
Not blowback. I think this actually is a blow to ISIS. And remember, they will have watched this target, which was a big compound, for a long time. So short term, they've broken up the ability to supply explosives and fighters for possible operations. And then longer term, this is a reminder that the Defeat ISIS coalition that ended the caliphate back in 2018 is still very successful, very much in place, and it should strengthen Iraqi security as well.
What about the nuclear talks that the Biden administration has said it wanted to resume, but it appears that that's not going to happen, at least while Joe Biden is still in office?
Oh, my goodness, yes. So Iran's new president and the Ayatollah gave him permission and sort of said, hey, any chance of talking about a nuclear back channel, maybe some more cash? And I have to say, I'm so glad the State Department said, no way. And, you know, the situation has gotten very serious. The UN says that Iran has enriched almost enough uranium to build several bombs. The new president in Iran is a little more moderate. He's going to want to try to get sanctions relief. And so they're going to be going for this. But hey, remember, Iran has 2 American aircraft carriers and all sorts of other planes and forces staring them down right now. So I'm not surprised that they're asking about talks, and I'm so glad the State Department said, forget it.
You say the new president appears to be more moderate, but you don't get to be president in Iran without the blessing of the Ayatollah, do you?
Oh, correct. And the real issue with the new president is he has a bit of a tricky relationship with the IRGC, you know, the terrorists, Ghani and all that crowd. So they're waiting to see how this is going to shake out. Obviously, the IRGC are not in favor of nuclear talks. But as president, he's going to want to get some sanctions relief. So I think we have several more chapters to go. The fact is, Iran has just continued to enrich. There's no reason for them to do what they've done, and they put themselves in a very bad spot.
We know that Iran was responsible for the deaths of so many U.S. service personnel. Their explosive formed penetrators did horrific damage to U.S. troops during the Iraqi war. And it just seems like this administration and maybe previous administrations have been reluctant to hold Iran's feet to the fire. Why is that?
And it's astonishing because Iran, of course, supplied militia units inside Iraq. And that's why, you know, Soleimani was taken out. He led all that. And that's what caused the deaths of, over 600 U.S. service members. These were Iranian-supplied militia making attacks in Iraq. And that's the model that we now see expanded across the Middle East, whether it's support for Hamas, support for the Houthis. And it is amazing that the administration has been so reluctant to hold Iran's feet to the fire on this. You know, Iran really is the head of the snake, the cause of the terror and distress in the Middle East. And I've got to say, they can never have a nuclear weapon.
Let's hope you're right. Dr. Rebecca Grant, thank you.
Thank you.